Hi, Doug Franklin with you again. This is session 2 in how to disciple a student. In our first session, we talked about some of the problems with discipleship, some of the misconceptions and obstacles we face. We also talked about definitions of disciple and discipleship and some of the goals that we would have in the process of discipling a student. We also talked about a 5-step plan to be able to disciple students. I want to break down step number 1 for you today, building meaningful relationships with students. I think we all are participating in relationally based youth ministries. In other words, our youth ministries are based on how deep our relationship goes with students. This is such a key because students will only listen to people that they trust. Students don't want to listen to authoritarians that want to tell them what to do no matter what. They want to listen to people that care about them. Students will never listen to you until they know first that you really care about them. So if we're going to disciple students and we're going to have relationally based ministries, we've got to become really good at building relationships with students. And I notice that sometimes adult volunteers don't feel naturally comfortable doing this. Students are very different from us. They're in a different generation. They listen to different music than us. They're into social media and we're maybe not into that. They got a whole different way of talking than we do. And sometimes we can feel like there's some barriers to us having a relationship. I notice that when adults do this, they fall back on, well, I'm in charge, I'm older. That's not going to work for you in discipleship. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get to know a student based on what a student cares about. And so what you're going to need to do is really go deep with that student. I find that there's 2 levels to relationships that we have with students. Level 1 is I know your name, I know where you go to school, I know what grade you are, and I know whose family you're in. Maybe I know your mom and dad, or maybe I know a brother or a sister. This is a level 1 relationship. And I find that most adult volunteers think this is what a relationship is with a student. But I'm going to tell you it's not. You may know all those facts. You may know their birthplace and their parents and something about their family and all that, but that doesn't know that you know them. And until you know them, there will be no trust. And so what you need to do is you need to look past brothers and sisters and schools and grades and clothing and all kinds of other things that we make judgments about people on, and you need to get to know their heart. This is what I call a 2nd level relationship. You know something about their family relationships, how they relate to mom and dad and brothers and sisters. You know some of the things that frustrate them, and you know a piece of their faith story. This is a 2nd level relationship. And I'm going to tell you right now, from my 30 years of experience of working with students, is that students don't just come out and tell you those things. They have to be discovered. So how do you do that? How do you discover these things about students? Well, I like to call it 100 questions. Students have a favorite subject, and it is themselves. And when we ask them questions about themselves, I find that they are willing to answer. So if I ask them about a piece of clothing they're wearing or a team hat that they have on or something about their summer, their experiences or their school experience or what they're into or their favorite band or their favorite music or their favorite movie, they're willing to tell me. And if I continue to ask them questions based on their answers, they will tell me more and more. So I might see a student that's wearing a Chicago Bears jersey, and I might say, hey, you into the Chicago Bears? And they say, yeah, I'm into the Chicago Bears. I'm like, who's your favorite player? Tell me who their favorite player is. Why do you like him? They tell me why they like him. And I just keep going like that. And their answer formulates my next question. And I go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. In this example, I might say, so who else in your family likes the Bears? Oh, my dad loves the Chicago Bears. Well, tell me, what's your relationship like with your dad? See where I'm going? I'm going deeper and deeper and deeper with every question. Now, I know this is going to seem weird to you adults because that's not how we do adult relationships. In adult relationships, we talk about a few things to find common ground, and then we share common experiences with each other. This is maturity. This is how we talk as adults. This is not how I talk to a student that I want to disciple. When I talk to the student that I want to disciple, it's all about them. I ask questions about them, and I stay focused on them. I'm not looking for common ground. I'm actually looking to discover them. And I'm looking to discover these things: their relationship with their families, their frustrations and difficulties, and something about their faith. I oftentimes say this: when I come to my last question is always this: so where are you at with Jesus? And I find that when I've asked those 100 questions about what they're into and what they like and what their life is all about and what they care about, I find that they're oftentimes willing to answer the question about Jesus. Now, if I start with the question about Jesus or ask the Jesus question in the first 10 questions, I don't get very far with students. But when I've done the groundwork of asking a lot of questions about what they're into, I find that they're willing to tell me about their relationship with Jesus. And once they have, now we're on to something. Now we're building trust. You know you have a great relationship with students when they seek you out, when they come find you at youth group, when they tell you stories about what's going on in their life, and you know you have a relationship with them of trust when they tell you stories of their struggles and difficulties. When you get to that point, you are ready for a discipleship relationship. I want you to know that. Look for those 3 signs. They come and find you. They tell you stories about what's going on at home and at school. And finally, they tell you stories and things in their life about their faith. When you've heard those things from a student, you should hear bells go off. Ding, 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 ding. You are ready to start the discipleship process with that student. So when you're discipling a student, you are trying to build a meaningful relationship. You want your student to go through discovery. You want them to be known. You want to figure out who they are. And when you do that, you will end up with trust. And when you have trust with the student, you'll be started down the discipleship road. Okay, so step 1 in discipleship is building a meaningful relationship. And all the time you're going to be discipling a student, 1, 2, 3 years, you're going to continue to develop this relationship. The deeper it goes, the deeper the discipleship will go as well too, okay? We want our students to be discovered. We want them to be known. We want them to feel valued. Because when that happens, we will develop trust. And trust is the first step that we need towards the discipleship process. All right, we got a discussion guide for you. Check that out. That'll help your learning go a little bit deeper. And hopefully that'll challenge you with some really good questions as you go through this process. And then I'll see you back here for session 3 on the How to Disciple Students course.